sleepyheads, get up, get up, get out of bed. Cheer up, the sun is red. Live, love, laugh and be happy. What if
Hello and welcome to Robin Pod Weekly number 7, which is of course powered by 𝗫𝗂𝗬𝗂 Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the club officials, players and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Joining me for this Robin Pod is regular Graham Turner. How are you doing, Graham?
Very well, Chris. Thank you. Very well. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Great opening to the season, isn't it? 2 rounds in, 2 victories. Only conceded 2 tries, and we go into the Salford game with a fully fit squad. We'll come on to that a little bit later, but that victory over Leeds, I don't know, it wasn't a pretty victory, was it? But it seemed very functional, something that we're probably going to have to become accustomed to during the course of the season, as Willie Peters has laid down the mantra, hasn't he, that defence is king. And making sure that the other team doesn't score more than us is more important than how many points we might score.
Yeah, I think it was, like you say, it wasn't the prettiest game to watch. It wasn't the most skill on show, but we came away with the 2 points at the end of 80 minutes, which was pleasing to see. And the attitude and efforts in defence were again there for all to see. And you look at the points we did concede, and whilst it was a brilliant try, that the Hanley one, that take that out the loop and the sin bin in early doors and capitalising on that. Defensively, we weren't stretched that much, certainly in the second half when you thought they were going to give us an onslaught. Thought our defence was solid. Conditions weren't great for good rugby for both sides, so the pitch was very soft and didn't help that. And but yeah, ultimately we got the job done. We came away with the 2 points, and gives us another boost of confidence for week 3.
Yeah, it's funny that pitch, wasn't it? Because it looks absolutely immaculate, didn't it? It looked good enough to play snooker on it, and then after a few minutes, you could just see how soft it was underfooting and the lumps of turf being chained up. Thankfully, it didn't have too much of an impact. Obviously, there's work to be done there. 𝗬𝗂𝗬𝗂 sin-binned bang early on, holding on too long. He definitely deserved it, I think, for the professional foul. And then Leeds running in and try scorers just a few minutes later. It's not the start that the Robins would have wanted to get off to, but it looked like the Robins never really panicked either. They seemed to get a foothold in the game, and we saw 𝗪𝗪 𝗪𝗪 crashing over for a try, and I think it was just rewards really for the way that they responded to the early setback.
Yeah, I think, look, on watching the incident back, 𝗬𝗂𝗬𝗀 argues that he got his arm trapped under, but like you, I think it was probably more of him in the wrong than the Leeds defender being cute and clever and keeping him in there. So, and if I'm honest, I didn't think he needed to do it. He got done by a bounce and almost tried to redeem himself by buying his teammates an extra second or two, but ultimately that cost him 10 minutes. Probably rightly, as you said, Johno. We did concede in that period, which was always a danger when you go down to 12, how you react. But I think the positive bit was that we didn't steer away from our game plan. We didn't sort of go knee-jerk into making rash decisions to chase the game very early doors. We stuck to that game plan, and like you say, so and again, just want to get your thoughts on this, and anybody who's listening at the minute. He seems a different player when now looking at him with his haircut and his trimmed up physique. I didn't recognise him initially in that, but to get down and scoop that one up for his try, I thought was great agility and hands for a big guy, and yeah, absolutely brought us back into the game at a time when we needed it.
Yeah, it was almost carbon copy of the try he scored against the Rhinos last season as well. So it's all deja vu, and you're right. Just in his appearance, he seems different. Who knows? A full pre-season, over here may have paid the world of good. I mean, he suffered a number of injuries last season, didn't he? But he's definitely looking sharp, quick, aggressive, good line speed, everything that you'd want to see from one of your props who's supposed to be a bit of the wrecking ball. I suppose it's fair to give him that mantle, isn't it, when you look across the other props? So great to see him go over the line, and great to see Jez Litton slot the kick over the over the H, wasn't it? I mean, it became apparent that 𝗬𝗂𝗧 wasn't on kicking duties. Some of the players came out to warm up. James Batchelor and Jes Litton, they were practicing the kicks, and Jes Litton follows it up later, just a few minutes later, with a penalty as well. And he looked very astute in front of the posts when he was kicking against Leeds.
It did, and yeah, obviously the week prior, whilst it didn't have an impact on the result itself against Hull at 22-0, it's something that in the back of a few of our minds thought, hang on a minute, it's fine when you're 22-0 up, you can miss 4 kicks, but when you're in a crunch game and you're needing a clutch 2 points, you can't afford to be hitting the corner flag with a 2-point conversion. So to see Litton perform in a composed manner in front of goal was reassuring. Is he the long-term successor to the goal-kicking duties? Again, I'm not sure, and others within the club will be far more clued up on that than us. But yeah, he gave an assured performance, and I think the best one was out on the touchline in that second half when he slotted one over from Ryan Hall's try that gave me the confidence that actually he is a competent kicker, and we should trust him. And again, I know it was sort of ironic as the kicks were going over that the cheers were coming in for it. But again, from a confidence perspective, yeah, for him to start slotting, I think was it 4 out of 4 or 5 out of 5 that he got should give him the confidence. It should hand him the tea on a regular basis on that basis, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you pose a question there. Is Jes Litton the answer to our kicking problems? Is he the long-term kicker? I suppose we're no closer to knowing, are we? Because Willie Peters already said that a number of players have put their hands up for kicking duties, and this could turn out to be one of the greatest coaching masterstrokes ever seen, couldn't it? Where a team doesn't rely on just one goal kicker throughout the course of a season. Actually, we're able to draw upon a number of kickers. It just goes to that old adage, though, isn't it? What you do in training, it's completely different to what you experience out on the pitch, isn't it? And it's that being able to transmit that from the training paddock out onto the pitch and do it regularly. And Litton, I suppose he's got the kicking tea at the moment. It will be interesting, and we're going to come on to that when we talk about the Salford game. What happens when he spells, when Willie Peters spells Litton and 𝗪𝗂𝗧𝗏𝗏. But then, like we said, this could be the greatest coaching masterstroke where actually it doesn't matter because we've got another 2 or 3 kickers on the pitch at the same time. So we will see. Half-time, the scores, 8 points to the Robins, 6 to the Rhinos, and then Ryan Hall goes over after 46 minutes. Great scene scampering out to the on the left wing, wasn't it? Going over the try line. A player who's not necessarily known for his try scoring over the last couple of years, more famed for his meters out of back play and his the work he does there, but he's still got that instinct and that natural try scoring ability.
Yeah, I'd still back him ball in hand from 8 to 10 metres out, looking forward and going for that line. I'd still want him in my side to do that. And you're right, his try scoring exploits have been steady over the last couple of seasons for us, and we've really relied on the strength and skill and speed to bring it out of back play and give us some breathing room in, when we've been on the back foot for a while. So yeah, always looking to get over the line and edge ever closer to that Super League record from his pal Maguire. But I think before that there was some almost basketball style scramble play and attack to get the ball out to him, which I won't say went unnoticed, but it wasn't until I watched it back later on that I actually saw what happened in the build up to that one. So again, it just shows that from an attacking perspective, I think Tyrone May had his hands in there, and Gildart as well. So again, it just bodes well of us being on tip-top form in terms of attacking prowess and being really switched on when it matters on that 5th or 6th tackle to create that space and opportunity for somebody like Ryan Hall to have a go at the line from, which, yeah, when looking back at it, he never looked like missing that one.
Yeah. Thankfully, Tyrone May didn't have his hand in that. It was more his knee or his shin, wasn't it, as it rolled off. That was obviously what the video ref was checking to see whether it was a knock-on. But one thing I wanted, bringing up Tyrone May, I don't know if many Robin supporters noticed it. It's something I noticed, and please comment if you're watching on YouTube. But Tyrone Main in the warm up, I wouldn't say he's the most enthusiastic player. He seems to be very, very languid in his style, very laid back. He's always the last runner. I think he was the last one into the changing room. But do you know what? You can see how that almost benefits him in his style of play, and how we're starting to benefit from that, because he's a cool customer, isn't he? And he doesn't seem to let anything fluster him. But yeah, I just picked up in the warm up, just watching him, and how laid back, I should say, he was.
Yeah, we picked that up as well where we were, and it was almost, I was almost thinking negatively in the fact that, oh blimey, has he pulled up injured because he's walking around, he's not taking full part in that sprint that they do as one of the last actions, and he walks off the field where everybody else jogs off the field, and as he pulled a muscle or something like that, and then all of a sudden he comes on and helps a calming influence in the game and to control it. So look, if that's what he does, if that's how he trains to, and that's what he needs to get himself in the best shape possible for his game face, then yeah, fair play to him. Let him do that. What I would like to see is a bit more enthusiasm in it, though, because I think with that appearance, it could rub off on others as, oh, he's not taking it seriously, and he's only giving it half beans. But when it comes to it, as long as he does the business on the pitch, then yeah, it should be a good sign for him if he is performing like that after what we would class as a lackadaisical warm up.
Yeah, and sometimes, Graham, things that happen on a rugby pitch, and it's the opposition who score it or do it. And Ash Hanley's try, I suppose, you just got to stand back and applaud it. It was a fantastic kick from Brodie Croft. I do think, though, there was a slight change, wasn't there, in personnel just prior to that, where I think Tom Opacek went out to the wing. We saw 𝗏𝗧𝗂𝗀𝗁 coming to centre. And if you look at their spots, they started from defending that play. Opacek was, I think, just took far too inside, because you could see the two Leeds players raring to go from where they was. And it was quite clear from their positioning they weren't going to get ball in hand. Yet it still takes a lot of skill to be able to execute that move, and they did it perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a defensive perspective, we picked up on that as well, that there'd been a shift around with those three players, and whether it was a circumstance of that, look, the defences compress centrally or left and right naturally anyway to try and keep play predictable and keep it in an area. So you've got to take your hat off particularly to Croft, who spotted that. He's obviously given some sort of call or made some sort of gesture for Handley to be on his guard with that. And yeah, then you still got to execute that kick and put it on a plate. It didn't bounce; it just went straight into his hands, and it was off to the races. And I think there was an opportunity where we could have got him about 35 metres out, but sort of stepped inside and left somebody grasping at thin air, as it was. And then, yeah, it was a clear run to the line. So, yeah, like you said, Johno, you've just got to stand back and say, well played, lads. That was a fantastic try.
Yeah, and it does look like that is going to be a feature throughout the season, because he did. Willie Peters did the same thing in the pre-season friendly at Headingley against Leeds. So I think we're going to become a bit more accustomed to it. And I suppose it does solidify us in that wing position, doesn't it? Putting Opacek out there, 𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗁 at centre. I mean, 𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗁, of course, played full NRL season last season at centre. Opacek, normally a centre, but so solid in there. So it does add some solidity on that right wing slot. And obviously, with Evalds at full-back, creates some space in back play.
I think on that one, John, as well. Sorry, mate. I think on that one, I think that can be a sort of in-game tactic that can be employed if things are going for you or not going for you. You've got that ability in game without using interchanges to make a difference on the field. So by moving one or two or three of those players into different positions, it just gives you that flexibility to adapt to a circumstance. And we know Handley's strong on that side, and it might have been to shore something up against that Peters had seen on that particular side for a while. It might have been just to give somebody a breather by shoving him out on the wing for a little while. So yeah, it could be two or three different scenarios, but it's good that we've got that flexibility to be able to do that with the caliber of players.
Yeah, and that fluidity is definitely something Willie Peters craves from his players. 𝗕𝗂𝗡𝗏, he scores his first try for the Robins, and Jez Litton seals the deal with his 2 points. Nice little tidy kick through from Tyrone Mills, wasn't it? And 𝗕𝗂𝗡, he smelt that out and he got on the end of it. And I think the game looked pretty comfortable after that.
Yeah, I think that was training ground move. I think that one with the fullback coming through onto that premeditated kick. So it's still going to be executed. Conditions weren't great. The ground was slippery, albeit soft ground. So yeah, the kick was good, well executed. Great timing on the run from 𝗕𝗂𝗡, and it was a slight double check on whether he grounded it in goal. But yeah, no issues with that one whatsoever. Good for him to get off the mark, I think, for us as well. Hopefully give him a little bit of confidence. You know, if he was lacking in any following the sin binning and looking to try and make amends. And then the week previously, I think he dropped a relatively easy one under no pressure. So if he was looking in for any confidence, hopefully that gives him it, and yeah, sets him on the way for many more tries for us this season.
Yeah, the only negative in terms of the stats that I could pick out was the completion rate. The Robins were operating at 78% during the game, whereas the Rhinos were up at 87%. Early days, isn't it? They're still trying things. They're still learning, the patterns of playing, and and you expect throughout the course of the season that will improve.
Yeah, I get that, but there were, I'll call them unforced errors that we made that handed possession straight back. And yes, the conditions weren't great. The ball was slippery, his pitch was soft, it was raining, whatever. I get all that. But there's certain things that we didn't do well. On occasions, there must have been 3 or 4 occasions where we didn't play the ball correctly, and everybody's been sort of told about that and getting square at marker, etc. Those are nothing to do with skill levels or anything like that. That's just basic fundamentals. And if we can minimize those to an absolute minimum or 0, then we'll tidy our game up no end. And I thought we just invited unnecessary pressure too often by making those unforced errors that aren't a result of any defensive pressure or bad decision making. It was just poor execution of a simple task.
Yeah, and in a way, Graham, that's good, isn't it? It means we're coming away with victories. We're not hitting the straps just yet. We've got things to improve on. So you imagine if we do improve on them throughout the course of the season, there's still plenty more to come from this Robins side, which is, that's why I think there's a bit of a buzz about the side, because we know that they're probably, even the victory over that lot, it wasn't sparkling, but it was effective and we did enough. So the fact that there's still room for improvement speaks volume of where this side could go.
Absolutely. And I think I probably based my comments on the standards that we set ourselves and aiming for those standards being the norm, those high standards being the norm, and not accepting that level of mediocrity that we've been seeing in the past. Peters has instilled those defensive standards and that an effort area, as he calls them, and players are really buying into that. So if we can just reduce those unnecessary errors that we give away, then again it can only put us in better stead, because we aren't just handing possession back in early tackle counts.
Yeah, Jez Litton, he got 3 points in the man of steel. Jai Whitbread 2 points and 1 point for Elliot Minchilla. I mean, we saw what Jez Litton did with the boot, but also he looked very accomplished in the hooker role, didn't he? He's got the confidence of knowing that he's first choice hooker at the moment. 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗜𝗏, of course, missing the game due to the suspension he received after the Hull FC game. But Jez Litton looked very astute at hooker, and you can see him really starting to cement that hooker starting spot role.
Yeah, and I think we've known that he's been decent in those interchange spells over the last two or three seasons with 𝗬𝗏𝗏. He got 80 minutes on Thursday night and looked very accomplished. And I'm just sort of reading the comment that Steve's made in the comments section there about Litton being fantastic again. And I think that's becoming a normal comment that people are making, is that Litton is now giving us what 𝗬𝗏𝗏 used to give us every week, albeit a bit of a role reversal. Whether that's an age thing, whether that's managing 𝗬𝗏𝗏's workload and his body, and swapping their roles around, but it doesn't give us any detrimental loss in performance by having Litton do the 60 minutes or 80 minutes on Thursday night and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 coming on. I think as Steve alludes to there, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 was fantastic, and to take the added responsibility of the goal kicking as well on his shoulders and add that to his armoury, again, just enhanced, the levels of performance, which will bring again new levels of expectation for 𝗬𝗏, but hopefully he can embrace that and thrive on it and continue to put those levels in for us. And with Parcell being there to back up or interchange or spell whatever Peter sees fit, again, we've got two very, very good number 9s in there for us.
Yeah, and let's round up the Leeds game. Jai Whitbread, someone who's really come in and made an impact. I mean, that game against Leeds, 41 tackles, 6 tackle busts, 14 carries, 109 metres, and an average gain of 8 metres. I mean, he's playing long minutes, which is what Willie Peters expects from him. So he's one of the players, the props who you'll see out there for a good number of minutes. And he's repaying Willie Peters' faith in him at the moment as well through his levels of performance. And we saw a few question marks, didn't we, in prior to pre-season when we let go Rhys Kennedy. Some people questioning whether that was the right move. Bazza, he mentions it. He says actually 𝗬𝗏𝗏 𝗠's got something to prove in the wake of Kennedy leaving. But I tell you what, I don't think Rhys Kennedy would be near that side whatsoever. And Jai Whitbread looks very much the type of player that Willie Peters really likes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was one of these many people who Whitbread were not overly sure of what he could bring to the team, and he was in a poor team at Wakey, and then coming across, you're thinking, what is it he's going to bring? Actually, now we're seeing what he can bring, and very impressed so far with what I've seen, and I know others have commented accordingly as well about the value that he brings to the team. I'm impressed with his post-contact meters as well. He doesn't just stop at the line. There's half busts coming on, and taking players backwards with him as well, which is good. And what him being able to play big minutes will allow is for those impact props like Sue, for example, or King, to do a really quality focused piece of work rather than dragging their time out and reducing their impact because they're too tired. By him being able to perform at that level for those amount of minutes should allow for their impact to be felt over those shorter periods of time as well, and give us a real good balance in the 4 or 5 props, whichever he goes with, to really get on top of many teams in the league.
Yeah, definitely. Long may that continue. Since the last Robin pod, a couple of new signings for the Robins. Ben Reynolds, he's signed on a 2-year deal from Featherston, 30 years old. 59 Super League appearances, 330 points. Of course, a Challenge Cup winner with the Leeds Leopards last season. A player who didn't necessarily endear himself to Hull Kingston Rovers supporters last season in the wake of Sean Kenny Dowell's ban. No doubt Willie Peters was looking for cover in that half-back position, as was a good number of supporters who saw Jordan Abdul depart on loan to the Catalan Dragons and question what happens if Mikey or Tyrone get injured. The market's very slim, isn't it, for players in that half-back position. The fact Reynolds Graham's come on a 2-year deal gives us a bit more security, doesn't it? And it probably it shows us where Jordan Abdul is probably going to be next season. But a good, decent player, good kicker. He's got decent footwork. He creates tries. He's able to score some. When you look at the market, I think Rovers have done some very smart business there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, John. Again, we were trying to work out where he plays, because at the minute I would say he's going to be third choice in the halves behind Tyrone May and Mikey. If they stay fit, where does he play? Is it just for cover purposes? He's got a good kicking game on him, as you've alluded to, and kicked a lot of points for the Leopards last season, and notably some against us as well. So we had the discussion around, has he been brought in additionally for his kicking duties, which if he has, then he has to play. And if he does play, where does he play? Who does he displace? And again, that's where we sort of hit the brick wall of where does he fit in if that's the rationale. If it's just for cover, then yeah, good addition, solid player. Like you said, didn't endear himself to the Rovers fans last season. it was one of those players who you love to hate as an opposition fan. Gets under your skin because he usually performs pretty well, scores kicks from all over the place as well, and generally just winds you up as an opposition fan. So yeah, let's see where he goes. I think you're right, the market is slim, but it just adds the question of what about the signings we've made, the PLTs of this world who have been earmarked? Is that still too early for his development to throw him in as a cover in the halves? Where do players like that fit in? So many questions, but yeah, happy to have that cover sorted. I think you're right in terms of a nail in the coffin for 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 coming back after a season. I think that's sort of clear where Peters is thinking on that one, given that it's a 2-year deal. So yeah, let's support him if he gets the shirt at any time. If there's any injuries, suspensions, loss of form, etc., I'm sure he'll be a solid addition to the halves.
Yeah, what excites me about this signing, Graham, is, and we don't know what truth was in the rumour at the time, but obviously Luke Gale was linked with the Robins, wasn't he? And what conjecture of whether he was actually an offer made or whatever. For me, Luke Gale would have been coming in purely as cover in the event of an injury. For me, I do see Reynolds having the opportunity to challenge and put his hat in the ring for a starting spot. And I think that dynamic is better for us because, ultimately, if Ben Reynolds gets a spot in the side and he displaces Tyrone May or Michael Lewis, it's because he deserves that opportunity, which is only a good thing for the side. So, hey, look, I know he's signed as cover and he's the fair choice halfback at the moment, but he's got every opportunity of staking a claim for that jersey in training. And the only thing is, you might expect to see him maybe loaned out during the season. You might see him going to play for side, as cover. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's a signing that I'm very pleased about. And the other signing, which was made on the day after we recorded the last Robin pod, is the signing of a rugby league legend, one of the game's greats, someone who's still playing at the highest level possible, and that is Jared Waera-Hargreaves. There's been lots of coverage of this in the media. I know pronunciation's great. I can see him chuckling. If anyone's listening on the podcast, Graham's, you can hear him chuckling in the background. I still need to get my teeth in. But Graham, what a signing! What an absolute statement signing!
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you said, performing at the highest level in the NRL. By the time he comes over to us, 35, 36 years of age, I was surprised.
Yeah, it'll be 36. It'll be 36 by the time he starts next season.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised, firstly, by the timing of when they announced the signing, but as in it was after game 1 of the season, and we're talking about 25 season already. So I was surprised at that because they usually save those nuggets till nearer the end of the season. But yeah, absolutely, what a statement in terms of the caliber of player. A massive pal of SKD. I think that was instrumental in getting the deal over the line. If in the first place, if we can get a consistent year of performance like we see now in the NRL out of him, that can only help us as a team and a squad, and players being in and around that level of experience, that professionalism, it can only rub off on them. So some of the young players perhaps being in and around that and working with and working alongside a player of Hargreaves' caliber, that can only help us. My only fear at this stage is about his body being able to withstand another year of NRL and then coming over to us to do Super League. I just hope he can stay fit. But like we've talked about previously, Johno, with Ryan Hall, is the ultimate professional in terms of how he looks after himself, how he conducts himself. So I've got no doubt that he will be doing everything possible to bring himself over in good shape. And I'm sure many of the viewers and listeners have sort of seen the snippet of the interview that he did, and he sounds very, very positive and excited by the opportunity that's been presented at joining the Robins.
Yeah. If anyone's tuning into this podcast and expecting to hear from Andrew Ferguson from Rugby League Project and 𝗬𝗂𝗀𝗏 and the Free podcast, I did speak to him, and the idea was to record an interview for 10 minutes and put it in this podcast. I actually ended up speaking to him for 45 minutes about all kinds of things. One of the subjects was around Hargreaves and the signing for the Robins, and he's got nothing but praise for him. Says he's a family man. He's totally committed to the game. Says he's a current player. He's not like it's signing for the Robins on the back of a long injury layoff. He's playing minutes, and he expects him to come over here not just for 1 year, but for 2 years. So if you get the opportunity, I've turned that interview into a YouTube special. So if you go onto the Robin Pod YouTube page, you'll be able to see that full interview with Andrew Ferguson. Great guy, very accommodating. We had a few technical problems trying to record it, but the interview was just going that well that I thought, you know what, let's just go with it, and we'll do that as a special. But Graham, nothing but praise for Hargreaves. Interestingly, 𝗦𝗢𝗄𝗏 is the only quota player who's out of contract at the end of this season. So unless something drastic changes, you'd have to be a mathematician to put 2 and 2 together there, do you?
No, and I think that was the assumption we came to fairly quickly once we realised that it was 𝗬𝗂𝗏 that was the only one realistically that was available. So unless we get told otherwise, I think it's fair to assume that. But just jumping back to Hargreaves, and we got the opportunity to see him in the World Cup last year across at Headingley when they played Ireland. And first of all, is a beast of a man in terms of his physical size and his presence. And we were fortunate enough to sit a few rows back from the from the dugouts and where the interchanges were. And again, just to see him close up, warming up, looking after himself, and then going on the field and performing, and then coming back off and working with the other players and talking to them would only echo that ultimate professional tag.
Yeah, and one player who sets to benefit from that is Sam Luckley, fresh from signing a new 3-year deal for the Robins. Many people thought when he signed that he'd be purely used as backup, even questioned whether he'd feature regularly for the Robins. Well, he's blown that out the water, hasn't he? And the fact he's been rewarded with a long-term deal is fantastic. And he will only learn from a player of Hargreaves' stature and ability and presence. So fantastic, though, to see Sam getting recognised for his contribution in the red and white of Hull Kingston Rovers so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think just a reward for the efforts put in so far in his early part of his career with us. And yeah, hopefully he can benefit. Hopefully he can have that assurity of that new contract under his belt and push on again and get even better for us. And yeah, learn and grow with the rest of the players there, and ultimately again learn from Hargreaves. As and when next season rolls around. So. Can only benefit us if he can keep performing to the levels he has been. Yeah,
and then just very quickly, Graham, before we move on to the Salford game, extremely sad to see Rob Crossland pass away. He was, of course, vice chairman of Hull Kingston Rovers, long-term friend of owner 𝗦𝗢𝗄𝗏𝗏, of course, a long-time support of Hull Kingston Rovers, became a sponsor of the club, and then he became a key part of getting the Robins into Super League by helping fund the playing side. Of course, his companies graced the shirts as a sponsor. He stepped down in 2019 from his role as vice chairman. He attended the Challenge Cup last season as a guest of 𝗦𝗢𝗄𝗏𝗏, which was fantastic to see him there. But someone who's firmly, Graham, in the fabric of Hull Kingston Rovers, made a huge commitment, not only just being a supporter, but the financial outlay, but also his expertise, his technical knowledge, and his presence around the club. And there won't be anyone who's got a bad word to say about Rob Crossland. So extremely sad news.
Yeah, extremely sad. And I echo everything you said there, Johno. I had the pleasure of meeting Rob a couple of times in a work capacity, and was nothing but a pleasure to deal with in that respect. And then as soon as he found out, or as soon as I made reference to the fact that I was a season ticket holder at the Robins, we just sort of nattered about rugby for far too long, when it should have been work chit chat. So nothing but high praise for Rob. And I'm sure many people more connected and closer to him than I am will certainly feel his loss. But again, as you say, a huge presence within the club over the many years, helped build the club, helped support and sustain the club, and worked tirelessly behind the scenes to sort of get it on the right tracks. You know, and hopefully we're starting to see the fruits of those efforts come to light now from the hard work that's gone on over the years from people like Rob and others.
Yeah, and me and Joe, when Joe was presenting the Robin Pod with me, we got the chance to speak to Rob and speak about his time at the Robins and his views on the club and the impact he'd had. And it was recorded about a couple of years ago now, but it's worth listening to now as much as it was worth listening to then, and even more so now that we're marking the sad passing of Rob Crossland. So yeah, and a fitting tribute paid to him against when we played Leeds. So yeah, condolences to his friends, family. Very sad. We move on to the Salford game, Graham. The squad was announced earlier today. We've just mentioned Sam Luckley. He's back, as is Dean Hadley. Matty Parcell also comes back. Louis Senior, Gorman and Tennyson, they drop out of the squad. Some people have called this the strongest 21-man squad we've had in our Super League history. I don't know. It's a big call, but there's no doubt that Willie Peters has got a very strong lineup to pick from.
Yeah, and it's the coach's dilemma that they always talk about as a nice dilemma to have, of having, you know, a squad there of 21, 22 fit players who are all chomping at the bit to get a jersey on Saturday afternoon. Yeah, he's got to, you know, look at the opposition, look at the tactics and style of play that we want to engage with on Saturday, and then pick the best 17, 18 to do that. And like we always talk about, you know, Willie Peters and the coaching staff are close enough to the players to know what their best choices are. And as fans, if we asked us all to put our best 17 down, we'd all come up with, you know, many different answers and formulas of what we would do. So I don't envy the task at hand, because players want to play all the time, and 21 doesn't go into 17 without people being disappointed. So hopefully it can just add fuel to the fire of keeping each other on a toes. And as you said, Johno, about competition for places, it's the ultimate competition for places, because we've got no injuries, we've got no suspensions, we've got no real lack of form at the minute to make decisions easier. So Willie Peters and the coaching staff have got some tough calls to make over the next day or so before they announce the final match day squad.
Yeah, and the interesting point for me is whether, it's a phrase I've used before on the Robin Pod, is whether he sticks or twists. I mean, we're only 3 rounds into Super League, but with the players who are now available, is it an opportunity to potentially rest players? Whether we need to or not, who knows? I don't think we do. Obviously, you've got someone like Joe Burgess who's chomping at the bit to get into the side. Is it an opportunity now to spell him instead of Evalds? Because what you'd say is it wouldn't weaken us if they did make that change. But Niall Evalds has not really let us down either, so it'd be harsh on him, wouldn't it, to drop out the side?
Absolutely,
I'll give you my 13. Hiku, I've gone with Evalds, Opacek, Gildart Hall, May Lewis. I think that pretty much picks itself. I've started with Whitbread and King, with Jez Litton at hooker. Tanganoa and Batchelor, I think they deserve to retain their spots. I can't see Batchelor going anywhere. I mean, Cheller, of course, is always going to be loose forward. The bench is the hardest bit now, isn't it, Graham, to predict and to pick? I think he'll go with Parcell. I'd go with Sue as an out-and-out prop, and then I'd go with Hadley and Staunton, just for the fact that they can both play prop and second row, even loose forward. Whereas if you look at the players left out, Yusuf Aydin, Sam Luckley, you'd pretty much say they're out-and-out props at the moment. Corey Hall is 18th man, gives you the versatility. I'd be surprised if he does anything different, but we've seen Willie Peters isn't afraid to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, we've seen that last season, Johno, where we've talked about the ruthless streak. So again, you know, he's closer than we are. We just sort of see them on Thursday night and judge our opinions on that. We're not there Monday to Friday on the training park and seeing how they perform there and picking up little niggles, etc. So we've got to trust that the 17, 18 that Peters and the coaching staff send out there are the ones that would be the best ones in their opinion and would get the job done. You've got a case, like you said there, I would sort of probably edge with yourself on your selection there and validate that one. But you've got a case for, like you say, for giving those people that work in hard minutes now a chance just to ease off a little bit. But you're winning games, you're riding the wave, you've got to keep that going. And when it's hard to justify somebody like Evelds, for example, who's not really put a foot wrong, to say, yeah, you're not playing this week, because it doesn't sort of ring true with, well, why not? I'm banging form. I've scored a couple of tries this season already. I don't need a rest. I'm not in the middles doing hard yards. But yeah, it's that ultimate conundrum of the stick or twist, or who do you play, who do you rest, who do you keep happy, who do you get, potentially knocking on your door on a Sunday morning saying, why aren't I playing gaffer? So yeah, tough decisions, but that's what the coaching staff and Willie Peters are paid to do. Yeah,
and very briefly, Graham, Salford, narrow defeat to Leeds Rhinos in the first outing. They defeated Castleford narrowly in their second outing. All kinds of problems in assembling the squad for 2024. Players departing, players signing late on. There's nothing to suggest that Rovers should be in trouble against Salford. And I'm fully predicting a comprehensive victory over the Salford Red Devils.
Yeah, likewise, I'm predicting victory as well, Johno. I think I was talking to somebody earlier on today, and I think they're sort of predictable in attack, as in now that Croft has gone, they've lost that X factor within there. And with Sneyd, you know exactly what you're going to get. And look, he will guarantee them 6, 8, 10 points per game. So we've got to be careful of giving away silly penalties where we're just handing 2 points to them. And minimise that. But I think we've got enough in attack to challenge them, having watched the game last week where Castleford, gave them a good thinking in defence of how to handle it. And I thought Castleford scored some, dare I say, easy tries against them. So hopefully with I would class us as having a better squad, a better attack than Castleford. Hopefully we can cause them more problems than Cass did. And likewise, I think we've got a better defence than Castleford have. So I'm predicting a sort of 8 to 10 point win for us on the day.
Yeah, I ain't giving you a score, but I think it's going to be a 20-point margin, Graham.
Wow.
You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait for my tipping league prediction to see the exact score.
Are you just seeing what everybody else does and then picking the best ones?
Yeah. The Robins are going to be backed by huge numbers once again on Saturday. If you go into the game, make sure that you're loud and proud. But for now, live, love, laugh, and be happy.